Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the rest of the story here. A little longer form, more facts, maybe some fiction. Hey, so like, subscribe, and share to YouTube channel, and let's all have some fun. Okay, today's story. 1937 Redskins championship trophy was almost thrown away in the trash. Okay, you might have noticed I put the word Redskins there. Woo! Here's what, I've talked to some AP people and I've talked to some other journalists, and we kind of came up with a consensus. After all this time, we should have done this earlier. To me, if the player is or coach predates last year, he is not part of the Washington football team. He is a Redskin. And that's how I'm going to refer to them from now on. And if it's one of last year and forward, we go forward with the new names. But I'm not going to talk about Washington football team coach Joe Gibbs, because it's not that. All right. Anyway, moving on to the story today. When the Redskins were leaving RFK Stadium in 1996, PR man Mike McCall decided to go look in the storage units just to make sure they weren't leaving anything behind. And he actually thought he saw a trophy years before, never really worried about it. So I talked to Mike about it, and he said, there was all this junk there, but there was a trophy. And he wasn't quite sure what it was, so they had to call the Hall of Fame just to make sure. And it was the 1937 trophy. If McCall doesn't go look in the back room storages, that thing gets tossed out in the trash. The 1942 Redskins championship trophy is missing. Nobody has any idea where it is. And for a long time, they didn't know where the 37 was. They figured maybe it was somehow George Preston Marshall, the owner, maybe it was somehow his effects, after he passed away in 1969, who knew where it was. But they actually have it. The Hall of Fame authenticated it, and something not lost to history for once. As hard as Dan Snider looks for these trophies and spends all his money, you'd think he'd really value them more. I don't know. Of course, Washington won 3 Super Bowl trophies. That's all anybody ever talks about anymore. But this team did win 2 world championships in the early days of the NFL. 1937, big year. That's when Sammy Ball came to town. That's when the Redskins came to town from Boston. Won a title right away. Life was good. Got a little tougher after that. They had some good teams for a few years with Ball, and then, it was a long oasis. Then you had a nice, George Allen run in the 70s. Joe Gibbs won titles in the 80s, early 90s. And it's been a little, quiet since then. But maybe Ron Rivera is going to get some spark. Maybe they'll finally return. Maybe they'll finally stop getting in their own way with this owner doing dumb things. So let's hope so. But a dumb thing would have been for the 37 trophy to have been discarded. And luckily, thanks to Mike McCall, who's no longer with the team, but doing his gig out in Virginia, helping others, they do have it. So if you're lucky, you'll get to see it. It kind of looks very different than today's world. But then again, 1937 was a very different world. What else happened in 37? Ooh, my mom was born here in D.C., so she's still kicking. So, all right, that's it for today. Please like, share, and subscribe to YouTube on the channel. I appreciate it. And I'll be back soon with more Redskin stories and others to boot. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thanks for watching.